Good morning. Usually, how I spend the first half of my day after I make these videos is thinking about what I said in them. Uh, Introspection, and thinking about, it's sort of like what uh, the ancient Stoics used to do. They used to think about what they did that day and what they could have done better, and what they and all the rest. But I when I make these videos in the morning, I think about the content. I think about what I said because I stream them. So I think about what I said, and then thinking how the reasons I said what I said, and how it must be perceived. But I think about from several different perspectives. But yesterday I was thinking about the fact how I said about Peterson. We were on the module of jealousy. That seems to be the module that we're on at the moment, is jealousy, and how jealousy can be such a horrible emotion. Really, it's like a cancer because it eats you from the inside out. It's a dreadful emotion, but yet everything is with reason, and most people's actions are determined by their feelings. So if someone is jealous, it's always with reason. It's either for giving them an opportunity to adapt and overcome, or it's to get them to act in a certain manner. But usually it's not just one reason; it's ambiguous. But one of the reasons is that you have to learn to overcome this feeling, and you wouldn't have it if you didn't have trouble dealing with it. Put it this way: like I don't feel jealousy now. Now, believe me, the universe just try it on sometimes. But I never begrudged anybody a thing in my life. Now, it's given me several opportunities and present this to me. But I'll tell you the truth. I've had friends in all walks of life. People with nothing, people with much more than me. Like in the last few years, it hasn't been hard to have friends who have much more than me. But I've never begrudged any man a thing, and I've never begrudged um, any man, a woman, or a relationship either. Do you know what I mean? Well, to be honest, I was always of the philosophy that nobody owns anybody, but it's not that I ever. So therefore, well, women aren't like cars or not like houses. You don't possess women. You don't possess anything. Nobody owns anybody, and nobody has the right to own anybody. But in social norms, they do propagate this "you are mine" bullshit. But I don't subscribe to that. But that's so as far as I'm concerned, jealousy just go into it there. But no, basically, I was never a jealous guy, as they say. But yesterday I would have come across that it seemed that I was jealous because it was on about Peterson, his $3,000 suits. And I was saying that he sickens my arse. He's beginning to sicken my arse. And I said, I was thinking about this and how it must look while we're on the module of jealousy. It must look like I'm envious of Peterson. So I just want to clarify this before we go any further. I am in no way envious of Peterson. But I remember when I was getting into philosophy, and I started to understand that we can't control our thoughts, and that nobody can control their thoughts. And then I started saying to myself, "Do you realise you're being turned on one another? Do you realise you are actually being turned on one another, and you can have a choice in this, but you are actually being turned on one another, like by the universe. You're being turned on each other, but you can have a choice in this. If you become conscious of this, you can have a choice in this and not turn on each other." And that would be like me wanting things to be different than they are, but if you focus on what is within your control, you can take it in that direction. But then when you seek to understand why things are the way they are, and you understand dialectics and the necessity for this, then you say to yourself, "Yeah, well, I'll go with the flow. I'll live according to nature. This is in accordance with nature." So all along I've said how I like Peterson, but I actually like Peterson, but the universe did chipping away and chipping away and chipping away. And then the other night I watched a video where he attacked Foucault. Now he called Foucault a horrible and demented little man. Now, coming from a renowned psychologist, that's no way to describe anybody. A horrible and demented little man. Because that just shows his reluctance to understand anybody. And I do understand Peterson. I do understand Peterson, but I like, and every time I look at Peterson, I do seek to understand Peterson. And I do realise that he has a role, and I do realise that when he got up and the universe showed me this thing of him attacking Foucault, and then he attacked the leading feminist as well. He said she was a hooker for 10 years and now she hates sex, and this was a big laugh. Come on, everybody laugh. And a damn good one, he said, ha ha ha, and everybody laughed. So he's tearing down, he's doing exactly what he's tearing down the opposition. He's tearing down Foucault. Foucault is one of my favourite philosophers because he very much pointed out all the problems with the current social structures and social systems, such as psychiatry, Christianity, psychology, psychiatry, and the judicial system, and how they all work in collaboration. How one took over from the other. How psychology and philosophy took over, or psychology and psychiatry took over from the Christians in determining what is socially acceptable, and they took over the role of social protection and social justice in collaboration with the penal system, with the judicial system. And I myself have experience of this. Like, I remember like one time, because this sort of leads into where I'm going next, which is aesthetics. I remember when I was in court for the steroids, they sent me to get an evaluation because they collaborate, because I have to be judged on how socially acceptable I am, or how much I come into the confines of what would be considered socially acceptable or socially normal. And I went to this. I remember when I walked into this. Room for the assessment, or whatever the fuck they call it. What do you call that? You know, when you go to court and you have to go and get an evaluation. You get an evaluation. You get a sort of where they assess the possibility of you recommitting your crime. You know what I mean? They assess what they think the possibility of you committing your crime is. And a probation report. Is it a probation report? But I remember I went into the room for the probation report, and there was a rather heavy woman there. Now, she was a heavy woman. Now, she was a well-set woman. She was a fat woman, like. And I remember just thinking to myself, I haven't got a hope. How can I expect this woman to understand my lifestyle? I haven't got a fucking hope. And I was 100% right. By Jesus, she did her best to fucking she did her best to challenge my lifestyle, and to challenge my lifestyle, and to challenge my use of steroids, and to challenge everything, and to ask me, about the chance of me. I was perfectly open about everything. I wasn't going to tell her what I thought she wanted to hear. I put it that way. And as a result, the judge said it was one of the worst probation reports you ever read. But this woman was making absolutely no effort to understand my lifestyle or me. And obviously she didn't have empirical knowledge anyway. And that brings me on to my next thing. This whole thing about I was watching a Joe Rogan podcast the other day. I'll come back to that. I didn't finish on reasons nature for turning us against. It's dialectics. It's dialectic. Thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. This is why it turns us on each other. And believe me, it did a lot of work to get me to turn on Peterson, but it's necessary that I turn on Peterson. It is necessary. Because I thought about what Socrates said, and I was trying to live by this, the best thing to do is focus on building the new, and not focus on fighting the old, but building the new. But I'm sorry, Socrates, destruction and creation. This is what's in accordance with nature. Destruction and creation. Now, the next thing, so I was watching a Joe Rogan podcast the other day, and he was talking about how, it was just a short reel, that Joe Rogan does the reels, and he said, this lad comes on and said how he hates fat models, and they want attention without doing any work. They haven't done any work, and how they want to normalise obesity, and they want to normalise this, and he hates fat models. And I found it quite an interesting podcast, but I went off then and think about, because this is aesthetics. You have to think about what you allow them to market as beautiful, what you allow them to make as socially acceptable beautiful. And this again is like the psychology and the psychiatry. We'll condition you in regard to, seeing as you don't think for yourselves, not that they think for themselves either, but seeing as you don't think for yourselves, we will tell you what is beautiful, what is socially acceptable, what is norm. We will condition you in any way we see fit. But you have to ask yourself then is, why is there fat models? Why is there fat models? And I said to myself, well, I'll have to give this a lot of thought, because I have no problem with anybody being fat. I say, like, if you go on safari, a rhino is a rhino. We are nature personified, and I say a rhino is a rhino. And I'm not going to look at a rhino and say you should be a giraffe, or I'm not going to look at a giraffe and say you should be a rhino. Or I'm not going to say to a leopard, you should be a lion. You know what I mean? You accept that that's a leopard, that's a lion. You know what I mean? But what humans have, the thing that makes us different, is we have the option of working on ourselves. We have a choice to work on ourselves. We have the choice to create ourselves. Other animals don't. A cat will always be a cat. A cat can do what's in its nature to do, but a cat can't work on itself. It can't make a conscious choice to work on itself. It can't make a choice to establish its own values, define its own morality. It can't make a choice, I'm going to go on a diet today, I'm going to go to the gym today. It can't work on itself. It can't change its mind and body. We can. We can make conscious choices to change our mind and our body. Now, so therefore, I have no problem with anybody that can be any way the fucking well like. I don't care, to be honest with you. I will focus on my own shit. But that will, of course, I will market a very different lifestyle, but it'll be also very different to what they're like. I'm pushing the use of whatever it takes, I say, whatever it takes. I'm pushing everybody to think for themselves and make their own choices. You want to smoke, smoke. You want to drink, smoke, drink. But don't let these people pretend that they're all for your welfare. And the only thing they care about is the golden calf. That's all they care about. And that's the only reason that we have fat models. And the only reason that we have fat models is because there's a market for them. There's a market for promoting this in every way. People have now got so heavy, especially in America, that there's a huge market for this. And it's only inevitable that they'll follow the big buckets of Coke and the big all-you-can-eat buffets. It's only inevitable. Now we have a land full of fat people. We will now market to these fat people. We will make this the new socially acceptable, the social norm. We will make clothes for them. We will give them drugs to treat their anxiety, their depression, their insecurities. But we will now make money from the market that we have created, which is a nation of fat bastards. And that's the reason there's fat models. Now, not that I have any problem with anybody being fat, because as I say, it's up to you to work on your own insecurities. I've been fat and I'm perfectly okay when I'm fat, because if I get fat, like up to recently, I didn't care what shape my body was. I couldn't give two fucks. I was busy working on my mind. And some people, when they don't care about the body, they're busy working on their mind, and they will put on a bit of weight. But now, for example, yesterday, I don't give a fuck for your opinion if I'm fat. I couldn't give two fucks for your opinion if I'm fat, because I don't lust after a man or a woman. I couldn't give two fucks. But yesterday I prioritised my gym membership, because now I've reached a point where I'm going in this direction now. I can go back to training. I'm enjoying the training. I've managed to get back into it, and even though money's a bit tight, I prioritised the gym membership yesterday. Yeah, over everything else, I prioritised the gym membership, because I want to stay moving in this direction. But because I have worked on my mind not that I'm finished with my mind, but now it's time to sort of play catch up and focus on the body. And it's a change for me as well. It's a change for me because like, you know, it's change is the only constant. So it gives me it's something new to focus on. I've been focusing on the mind. I've done the philosophy, and now it's time for change. And I think I'm going to rather enjoy starting to focus on the body. As I say, I prioritise the gym membership. And this is a choice that everybody can make. you can focus on your own shit, but everybody has the choice. Once they actually realise that they have choice and focus on what is in their control, which is their own shit, and not everybody fucking else, including bitching about fat models or anything else. But even though I understand this dialectics, bye bye.